Since April the 10th, pro-government forces led by the Republican Guard and Liwa al-Quds have been making attempts to advance against Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, formerly Jabhat al-Nusra, the Syrian branch of al-Qaeda, and its allies northwest of the city of Aleppo. So far, government troops captured the areas of Tel Shuwayna and Khirbet Anadan and tried to push further in the direction of Ma'arat al-Atik and Babis. However, this advance has been repelled by the forces led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS. On April the 12th, clashes continued in the area, with both government forces and militants trying to advance on each other. While some pro-government outlets describe this advance as a large-scale push aiming at encircling Anadan and the nearby points, the Republican Guard and Liwa al-Quds will likely not be able to achieve this goal because of a lack of manpower for this advance. The real goal of the operation is to put additional pressure on HTS members in the Anadan plain amid the continued clashes in northern Hama, where the group is also deeply involved. Nonetheless, should the defences of the HTS-led forces collapse for some reason, government troops will try to use this to achieve their maximum goal in the area. The situation remains tense in northern Hama, where the Tiger Forces, the National Defense Forces (NDF), and other pro-government factions embedded with Iranian and Russian military advisors are putting pressure on HTS-led forces aiming to retake Suran and Halfaya. The Russian-trained 5th Legion and the NDF, backed up by the Russian Aerospace Forces, recaptured the Altaj Hill, several points in the Mazburad Mountain, Qasr al-Halabat, Sukari, Siria Tal, and the Al-Abtar Mountain from ISIS terrorists in the countryside of Palmyra. Pro-government forces are now pushing along the road linking the Al-Buzeri Crossroad and Palmyra. In this case, Jabal al-Khan, the Sawana Junction, Ghufayfis, and the Ghufayfis phosphate mine are the main targets of the government advance. This advance shows that the Syrian military is aiming to secure further the Homs-Palmyra highway from the southern and northern directions, instead of pushing to Deir ez-Zor as SF forecasted earlier. The push of the Free Syrian Army (FSA) militant coalition against ISIS in the desert southwest of Palmyra also contributes to the Syrian armed forces' concerns. If the FSA reaches al-Bada and the al-Buzeri crossroad first, they will be able to threaten the southern flank of the government forces deployed at the Tayas airbase. On April the 12th, so-called green buses arrived in the villages of Zabadani and Madaya in southwestern Syria to evacuate the first batch of militants and members of their families from the area. According to reports, about 3,000 militants and civilians will evacuate. Government forces will set up full control over the Zabadani pocket. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said on Tuesday that Moscow must choose between good relations with the U.S. and its allies and support for Iran, Hezbollah, and the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. With this statement, the Secretary of State aimed to strengthen his position ahead of his meeting with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. However, it's not likely that ultimatums can help to find common ground on this issue. During his first press briefing, Secretary of Defense James Mattis once again confirmed that the U.S. is set to blame the Assad government for the Idlib chemical attack and offered a stern warning that the Syrian government will pay a very, very stiff price if further chemical attacks were to be launched in the future. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry said that only 2 facilities for the production and storage of chemical weapons are still located on Syrian territory, and these are controlled by militants. Destruction of 10 of the 12 facilities used for the storage and production of chemical weapons was confirmed by OPCW experts. The Syrian authorities do not have access to the 2 remaining facilities as they are located on the territory which is controlled by the so-called opposition. For this reason, the OPCW cannot confirm the fact of destruction of chemical weapons on them, Colonel General Sergei Rudskoy said.